Welcome to the exam preparation presentation. I am Kai Nyangara, taking you through exam preparation for Design and Technology, Bachelor of Education, Senior Primary. The objectives of the presentation are to remind students about pertinent issues when writing an examination, to indicate resources students need to study to prepare for the examinations, to remind students to complete personal information correctly, to highlight the importance of reading examination instructions presented at the beginning of the question paper, to summarize the course content, topics covered by the course, to explain the format of questioning, and to discuss key questioning terms. The presentation is also meant to present key concepts students need to know, to discuss what to be done when asked to draw, work out examples of calculations, discuss the use of examples and full explanations, discuss other examination practices, ways of answering questions, numbering, and presentation of the answers. These are the resources you need to prepare for the examination. 1, you need your study guide, which is the key resource. Secondly, you need a textbook written by Manas and Shapalala, 2010 edition, Go for Design and Technology, Grade 10, published by Namibia Publishing House. You also need other resources. For example, there is a book written by Garrett, 2004 edition, Design and Technology, published by Cambridge University Press. You also need to look at your past assignment questions and answers, and you can also refer to internet sources. First thing, after being given your paper, after writing all the personal information, you need to go through the examination instructions. It is critical that you read, understand, and follow all instructions to avoid disqualification. Complete all personal information. Take equipment allowed into the exam room. Example of what you need to do: switch off phones. Do not take any notes into the exam room. If you are late by 30 minutes or more, you are not allowed to sit for the examination. You are also not allowed to leave the exam room during the first 30 minutes. Again, you are not allowed to leave the exam room during the last 15 minutes. The following areas or topics cover your course outline. First, there is conservation measures and safety precautions. Second, your course covers features of design and design communication. The third area is features of and how to work with materials. The fourth area is aspects of hydraulic and pneumatic mechanisms. And the fifth area is features and the application of energy. Now let's look at key questioning terms or words which are used in asking questions. They include explain, define, discuss, analyze, calculate, draw, examine. These are only a few examples. There are more. If you refer to your study guide, at the beginning of the study guide, these terms are given in there. They are explained. My advice to you is that you need to follow the demands of the question. If a question says explain, you need to explain. If a question says discuss, you need also to discuss. A discuss question should not be a list question. Some students, instead of discussing, they just list using bullets, which will not be correct. It may result you being disqualified on that question or getting very few marks. So we need to read these words and understand them and answer accordingly. For example, a draw question, you need to draw. Right now, let's look at the areas of your study, topic by topic, and see what type of questions which may be asked in each area. Right, the first area is conservation measures and safety precautions. Under this topic, you may find questions on what is conservation. How can we conserve natural resources such as trees, water, and soil? And you need to be aware of ways of conserving these natural resources. For example, when we look at trees, yes, we should avoid unnecessary destruction of trees. We should plant trees and so forth. When we look at soil, we need to protect the soil from erosion. So we need to have an idea on how to conserve the natural resources. Then under the same topic, we have reusing and recycling plastic waste. And under this topic, we have 4 R's. The first one is reducing, reusing, recycling, and recovering. We should know these terms, how we can recycle plastic waste, how we can reuse plastic waste, and how we can reduce plastic waste. Then the next area under the same topic is we can have questions on what is and the ways to be a green consumer. The key word there is green consumer, simply implying that how can we save the natural resources, right? Then you also need to know examples of conservation projects in Namibia. We have certain projects on conservation. You need to be aware of these. Then under the same topic, we have types of emergencies and preparedness. We have emergencies which are caused by weather, non-weather emergencies caused by fire, and medical emergencies. You should be aware of how you should prepare for such emergencies. Then the next topic is design and design communications. Under this topic, we have, it covers what is a prototype. You should be able to define a prototype, what steps should be taken in building a prototype. We also have questions on evaluation of a prototype. What do you evaluate? On this area, you need to know the criteria of evaluating a prototype. For example, easiness to use. You'll be able to identify those characteristics. Then we have questions on uses of prototypes in real life situations. For example, they can be used for making demonstrations. The prototypes can be used for research, and they can also be used for testing new products. Then our next area is design communication. Right, here we need to look at designing involves constructions, different types of constructions. We should also understand the concept that designs are a way of communicating. For example, a plan of a house can be a way of communicating to the builders, those people are going to build the house. Then under the same area we have the concept of scale drawing, whereby we have scale which shows measurement and on paper and the actual measurement. So our scale is indicated as a ratio. For example, 1 to 100 or 1 to 50. And when we look at buildings, our scale is indicated in millimeters, right? We have an example. A house measures 30 by 20 meters, 30 length, 20 width. Now you need to draw the house to a scale of 1 to 500. Your scale drawing will be 60 millimeters by 40 millimeters, or 6 centimeters by 4 centimeters. This is how you are going to work the problem to find your answer. First, you need to convert 30 meters to millimeters. So you need to know your units of measure. 30 meters to millimeters, you can change them first to centimeters. You get 3,000 centimeters. Then you again change them to millimeters. Then you get 30,000. Then you divide 30,000 by 500. And then you get 60 millimeters, which is 60 millimeters divided by 10, then you get 6 centimeters. You do the same with your width. Then you can now draw your house according to scale. Then the next area is, what do we consider when designing a house? There are certain issues we should prepare when we are designing a house. We need to know our budget. Because we need money to buy materials, so we should ensure that we have enough money to complete the house. We need to check the reputation of our builder. We are looking at the quality of the builder. We also need to build the house with a resale in mind. Sometimes after completing the house, you may decide to resell that house. Yes, we also need to think green. That is, we need to think of ways of protecting the environment. Yes, we also need to have extra cash just in case we may have shortages, or we may have, materials may rise in prices. So we need to have extra cash. Now let's move on to electrical circuits and symbols. And you should be able to illustrate, or you should be able to label an electrical circuit. Right, the main components, we have a dry cell, we have a switch, and we have bulb. You should be able to connect, you should be able to know the positive of your dry cell, the negative, and how these are going to be connected to the globe. And you should be able to describe a closed circuit and an open circuit. Then we have electrical symbols. You should know the following symbols: a switch, a cell, a battery, a lamp, a voltmeter, an ammeter, a resistor, a variable resistor, and a motor. You'll be able to draw, you'll be able to label these electrical symbols. Right, then we now focus on some of the tips how to question students, effective questioning techniques. We should give learners thinking time. When you ask a question, you should give them thinking time. Yes, when we ask questions, we should move from simple to abstract. We should not start with difficult questions, otherwise it will frustrate the learners. We should ask one question at a time. We should not ask two questions at a time. It may confuse the learners. Then we should give all the learners the opportunity to participate. We should not let few learners dominate. Then, if you want to find out whether the learners have understood, you should not ask them the question, do you understand? They may just look at you, or they may say yes, even if they don't understand. So if you want to find out whether your learners have understood, you ask them a question so that they can answer. If they are able to answer correctly, you know that they have understood. Then we move on to materials. We've got types of wood and timber defects. We have questions on how to use a saw correctly. We also have questions on safety precautions when using a lathe, a rotor, a miller, or any powered tool. We also have questions on ways of treating timber against fungi, weather, and insects. We also have questions on different types of joints in wood. Then under the topic metals, you should be aware of the properties of metals. The 4 basic properties of metals. You should be able to be aware of them and describe them. We should also be able to give or explain what precautions do you take when you are using a hacksaw, right? Then you should all know types of chisels and types of screws, different types of screws. You should be able to draw them, able to identify them, you should be able to label them. Then our area of concern, the next topic, is hydraulics and pneumatic mechanisms. You need to know these. What are they? How do they operate? And real life examples. For example, we have hydraulics. Where do we use hydraulics in real life situations? We use hydraulics in car brakes, a car jack, or front loaders. As illustrated here, you can use this, you can see this tipper which uses hydraulics. Then we have pneumatics. Yes, you'll be able also to explain what is pneumatics, how does it operate, what mechanisms does it use. Right, then we'll also be able to give examples of where we use pneumatics in real life situation. For example, as illustrated, you can see the person who's using a pump. It uses pneumatics mechanism or principles. And we also have examples of lorry brakes. For example, those big lorries, when the driver is applying brakes, you hear the pressure being released. We also have some doors of buses and trains which use pneumatic principles. Then we look at energy. We have got different types of energy. We should be able to know these different types of energy and explain them. Then you should also know how energy is changed from one state to the other. For example, a microwave, the light energy in is changed to heat energy. If we look at petrol-powered lawnmower, it has got chemical energy, and when it is working, it changes to mechanical energy. So you should be able to know those types of energies. Right, then we look at the principle of moments. For example, when we look at the seesaw, we have two people, one at the other end and one at the other end. When the seesaw balances, that we look at the principle of moments. If you look at the illustration there, you can see that we have got two objects on the ends of the seesaw. One has got 300 newtons, the other one 600. Then the distance from the pivot, we have got 6 meters and 3 meters. So to balance the two objects, right, we need to multiply the 300 by 6, we get 1,800. And then on the other side, we multiply 3 meters by 600, we also get 1,800. And then the two will balance. So if you are given, for example, 300, 603 meters, if you want to get 6 meters, you simply multiply 3 by 600, you get 1,800. Then you divide 1,800 by 300, and then you get 6 meters. So you can work out any number if you are given the other three. Yeah. Right, so we have come to the end of our presentation, and these are my concluding remarks. The presented topics or areas may not cover all the questions, but I've just provided you with an overview of the course. As a student, I advise you to widely read. You go over the assignment questions and you start guide, and you will definitely pass. Always remember to answer as required. A discussion question should never be a listing question. The mark allocation should guide you on the length and the depth of the answer. To all of you, I wish you good luck in your examinations.